everybody, my name is Chrissy.
And my name is Ellie, and we're from the Chattanooga Public Library.
And for today's So It's Saturday, we are going to be making a succulent wall hanging. So we are going to go over the supplies and the instructions. And by the end, we are going to have an amazing wall hanging that I'm so excited to see. Sound good?
Great.
Let's go.
The supplies you're going to need include an embroidery hoop, fabric for your background, a pencil or a fabric marker, embroidery floss and a needle, yarn, felt of different colors, a hot glue gun and glue sticks, and the template for the succulents, which can be found in the description box below. Let's get going.
All right, so for our first step, we are going to get our canvas into our hoop, and Ellie is going to tell us all about how to do that.
So you're going to take this screw bit at the top and turn it until it loosens to detach your hoop into two parts. And then put just the plain hoop on the back of your fabric, and then the other hoop goes on top. And then we're just going to write the word that we've chosen onto our fabric.
So, Ellie, does it matter the placement of the word?
I think that's really up to you. You can go like the example picture and kind of put it at the top. You could put it in the middle and have your felt succulents going all the way around it. That'd be cute. You could kind of put it off to the side and have kind of like a curved shape of the succulents.
It does say, hey.
Hey.
Okay, so we have our canvases ready. I decided to go with hey, and Ellie decided to go with
Joy.
joy. All right, so we are ready to go ahead and embroider our letters. So let's go ahead and grab our embroidery floss and our needle. So I'm doing kind of this almost like an iridescent navy, but obviously you can choose whatever color you feel is appropriate. Ellie, what color are you using?
I'm doing this really bright pink that I think will stand out against all the greens and blues I have.
That is awesome, and it's making me second guess my choices, but we're gonna go with it. So the thing about embroidery floss, and when you are using it to embroider, the floss itself is made up of 6 strands, and so it's up to you of how many strands you actually want to use. I usually choose to not do all 6. It's very hard to get through the needle unless you have a thicker needle, and then the thicker needle will show holes in your fabric depending on what kind of fabric. So these are just things to think about whenever you are about to do your embroidery. So I'm going to go ahead and trim some off. I'm just going to go ahead and separate mine out. I think for this one, I'm going to go with 4.
Yeah.
I still want it to be seen. I just want to take 2 of those off. And when you do this process, you just, slow and steady wins the race. I usually try to separate mine out, and then I use my other hand and just kind of pull it down to keep them separated quickly. It's a good way to knot up your embroidery floss, which usually ends with me just like tossing it to the side and wasting. And we don't waste craft supplies here. So, Ellie, I would love to get your opinion on this because I have heard different things from different crafters throughout my time. So I always put a knot at the end of my embroidery floss. But some people that embroider really hate that. And, I think it's kind of up to the person.
Yeah, I always knot mine too. I feel like I'm not very risk averse. So, I like to put a knot in there. No one else will know except for me.
That's very true. And, for anyone doing this at home, if this is your first time doing embroidery, then I would definitely suggest putting a knot at the end. So once you have a knot at the end, you can go ahead and thread your needle. I'm going to do the really not COVID friendly thing and lick my ends. You're alone. Fine. I'm not sharing my floss with anybody. And once you have your needle threaded, you do want there to be a little bit of a tail. So it's not like standard sewing where you would create your loop. You leave a tail, and I call it the pinch. And you just kind of pinch it as you go. Or as my grandmother used to tell me, pinch it. So for this, we are just going to be doing the most basic of embroidery techniques, and that is called the back stitch. Now, Ellie has a full embroidery video that you can go and watch on our YouTube channel where she goes over a lot of different stitches and techniques. For this one, we're just going to show you a bit of the basics, and if you need it slowed down or explained more, go look at her video. So for the back stitch, which is, I personally think, the best one to use for words, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my needle, hook it at the end, start at the end of one of my letters, pull it through, pinching the floss, pinching the tail, and you're just going to create one stitch. So that one stitch is going up and down, okay? So I try to not do mine too far apart so that you can really keep the detail of the cursive, but you also don't want them too close together. I mean, I guess you could if you wanted to. It's up to you. So you can tell that I have one stitch. Boom! So next step, I'm going to take my needle and I'm going to poke it about the same length as I did before on that first stitch. Bring it back up, pinch your floss. Okay, and this is where it gets fun. It's where it gets tricky. Instead of going forward, you're actually going to go back and put your needle back through the second hole that you created. So it creates this really awesome connected line. So I'm going to go through that one more time faster. So I have 2 stitches. I'm just going to go over a little more, pull it up, pinch the floss, take my needle and poke it back down the last hole that I created. All right, so we are going to do this to create our word. Here we go. And we can sit here and have like a sewing circle.
Yeah, 1 hour later.
Right, so whenever you are done with your embroidery, you do want to go ahead and knot off the remainder of your floss. So what I do is I just take my needle and go back through a couple of the stitches around back, just like literally going straight through them, pulling that out, which creates a loop. And then taking the rest of the floss attached to the needle, go through the loop and pull it tight, which creates a lovely little knot. I usually do this twice because I like to be extra careful that it is fully knotted in there. And then you cut off the remainder. Boom. Hi. Oh, I hate that. Oh.
All right, so when you're ready to make your tassel, make sure you have a piece of cardboard to wrap the yarn around. Mine is about 6 inches on one side. And go ahead and cut 2 pieces of yarn that are about 6 inches long or so and just set them off to the side. And then just start wrapping your yarn around the cardboard. And I think I'm going to wrap mine about 15 times.
And we don't need to like tie a knot or anything.
Nope. And then just cut free end off. So it's the same length as the rest of the pieces of yarn. And then go and take one of your pieces off to the side and slide it underneath all the layers of yarn and slide it up to the top. That, and then just tie that maybe in like a double knot. And then carefully slide that off of your cardboard. But you want to keep the knot at the top. And then take your other piece of yarn and tie it maybe like 1/2 inch or so below that top knot. And leave a kind of a tail on one end. You don't want to have too short of a tail. Does that make sense? Because we're going to go back and tie this end with the other end. We're going to wrap it around.
I see. So
The longer side around a couple times. And then snip off that extra yarn. And then at the other end, open up all your loops together. And then, yeah, just cut them open, yeah.
is this the right thing to do?
And then we're going to loosen our embroidery hoop just enough so that we can get one of these yarns at the top through. And then tighten your hoop back up to keep it in place and just tie it.
Cute.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, cute.
So we have our canvas all ready, and now it's time to make some felt succulents. Yum.
What you've all been waiting for.
Okay, so now comes time for the succulent construction. So I printed out the template that you can find in the description box, and so I color coordinated mine, and it's on cardstock. So these are all the different options. And what you're going to do is you're just going to take these, and depending on what size succulent you want, it's going to change of how many of each piece you need to cut. So Ellie and I's embroidery hoops are a little smaller, so I stuck to doing smaller and medium size succulents. So I'm going to use this gray, and I'm going to go with the pointy succulent. And I'm going to make it a medium size, which means that I need it, let's see, I need 2 of the smaller, I need 3 of the medium, and 3 of the big. So I have this handy dandy fabric marker. You could also use a pencil, you could use a pen, up to you. And I'm just literally going to use my templates and go around them. You know, succulents at your house, they don't, all the petals don't look exactly the same. So your succulent can have some personality to it. So once you have your templates drawn, you're just going to take some scissors out and cut them out. So we are ready to start constructing our different ones. I will say that each one has like a slightly different construction, but for the most part, it's kind of the same process. So let's just go ahead and start with the pointed ones that we just cut out. And I would also make sure that you have plenty of hot glue sticks around. Always good to like be prepared with those instead of having to scramble in the middle of your project.
So for the construction of the pointy ones, what you're going to do is you're just going to put a little bit of glue in the middle and fold them over at an angle. I did all of mine at once, but you don't have to do that. Next, you're going to put a line of hot glue at the base and roll one on itself. So this is going to be your center, and then you're just going to continue by putting a line of hot glue at the bottom of each petal that you made and put them around your base in a circle. So it'll continue to grow on itself and you'll have a succulent. So next I'm going to do the circle one, and it's very much in the same way, just a little bit of hot glue in the center and fold up at an angle. For this one, I am hot gluing all of the smaller pieces together in a row and then putting a line of hot glue at the bottom and then rolling it in on itself. This is just a different way that you can construct the center portion. And then continue on by putting a little bit of hot glue in the center, folding at an angle, and then taking your larger pieces and adding them to your center in the same way that we did with the pointed ones. So this process of folding at an angle and rolling them upon each other and adding them in a circle is actually the way most of them are constructed. So I'm just going to show you examples of a couple of other ones with this construction, and then we will move on to another. So for this one, you're going to take some hot glue and add a little bit to the base, roll it up, and just press it together to let it dry for a little bit. And then you're going to take each petal and put a line of hot glue at the bottom and attach it to the cylinder base that we created. This one is a little bit more driven with your artistic nature to add the petals in a way that you think is interesting and aesthetically pleasing.
Oh, another idea that I had that I didn't end up trying is using like a marker or a Sharpie to add a little more color on these, like kind of at the end.
I did that on some of mine.
Ah!
Yeah, but you can't tell. I was using a like old school jelly roller pen that's green glitter.
Yep.
To mark mine out, and then I saw it and I was like, oh my god, I love these like accents. So I love that suggestion. I think it would also be cool, but it would take a lot of time, would be to like add some embroidery around the edges. We're getting crazy here.
Yeah, that would be time consuming, but it sounds adorable.
So I'm sure this will come as a surprise, but you're going to use hot glue to attach these as well. So I think that it would be valuable to take some time to, play around, see what looks good next to each other, see if there's any, contrasting. Well, none of these are really contrasting colors, but I'm personally not going to put two greens very much alike in hue and tonality next to each other. Like these two are very close, so I would maybe take a lime green and put those in between. So just really take your time to play around, but whenever you have it in the perfect shape that you want, all you're going to do is take your succulent and load up that hot glue. Stick it on down. Who would have thought? So I've got my first one down.
Cute.
Awesome. So Ellie, I think that I'm going to take a little bit more time to create all of my other succulent shapes. I guess you will do the same. And by the end of this video, come back and see our final products.
Thank you so much for watching this video, and if you made a succulent hanging, please take a picture of it and tag us on Facebook or Instagram. Thanks. Bye.